Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to the More Money Show. I am excited to have for their second interview, Adam and Vanessa Lambert of Be The Wellness, B-E-E, The Wellness. And hey guys, how are you?
We're excellent. Hey, Cassie, thanks for having us back on.
Hey.
Yeah. Hi, I'm excited. You just came off of B-Fest, which amazing. And we talked about last time how sort of your tribe just started naming themselves and it was all inspired and so much fun. So tell us about B-Fest, like what happened, what was awesome, how many people did you have, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so we ended up having 59 people, which was pretty amazing, especially for us because most of our events are, somewhere between 18 and 20 people usually, or maybe a little smaller, 15 to 20. And so it was a big leap for us to step into this bigger version of ourselves, bigger version of our events, coordination, and all that good stuff. And, honestly, to be totally honest, it could not have gone any better. Like, really, it was amazing.
Yeah, it really was. And there were so many times even throughout the weekend where I was like, are we forgetting something? It seems like we should be like working harder. Like some part of this should be more stressful, or like, what are we forgetting about? Like what's going on? And it just flowed. We did kind of an after action with the manager of the event space that we rented Auto Camp. And she was asking, she's like, well, what do you think we could have done better? And we're like, I don't know. I mean, nothing. It just went so well. I mean, there were like one or two things that the next day that Vanessa and I kind of batted back and forth. And then at the end of the day, we're like, you know what? I don't think anyone else noticed that. Like that was all internal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And we were really present. So one of the things I think I mentioned in our coaching calls is that I was really I have a tendency towards procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something that I like to leave like a little bit more than I probably should for the last minute, just to really give myself a sense of like something to stress out on.
Yeah.
And I think I do it because I know I'm going to have anxiety, like sort of ambient anxiety about the event anyway. So if I give myself something to focus on, it feels like now there's a reason. Otherwise, I have to just sit in the anxiety and be like, okay, well, everything's done, but I'm still anxious.
Yeah.
But I really decided to look at that, own that, and not allow myself to fall into that pattern. And instead of, leaving a bunch of stuff to give me a reason to be anxious, I decided, well, get everything done. And then maybe you'll surprise yourself and you won't feel anxious. Maybe you actually won't. Maybe that isn't the end result of where you sit before the event takes off or during the event. So I really took, I sort of forced myself into doing all the little details ahead of time. And what ended up transpiring is I was totally present. I was totally there with the guests. I wasn't distracted. I wasn't like, oh no, I need to go take care of this detail. I was completely there and with our guests and present for them, which was amazing. And I just felt like so in control of the experience, so to speak, or at least in control of my presence, which was just really cool.
That's awesome. And how cool for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They kept saying, I know you're so busy. I have a quick question. And I was like, no, I'm totally fine. I'm good. I have all the time in the world. What question do you have? And it was such a nice place for Adam and I to feel like we were 100% participants as well as the facilitators.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. It's funny though that so Vanessa, this was quite a while ago. We had an event here at our house in Venice, and it was just funny because we were preparing for it and moving stuff around in the yard and doing all of this stuff. And it was like, the thing was supposed to start at 6:00. It was probably noon or something. We're like, well, what else needs to get done? And Vanessa's like, nothing. We're done for now. And then at 4:00, we'll stress out. And I just remember cracking up. I was like, or we could just do this stuff now and like not worry about it, but it's like a real thing.
I don't know, but I totally I felt like that shifted big time, and it was really amazing. And it all works into this stuff, right? It all just that abundance, that feeling of peace, all of these things are representative of being in a better mindset of success, which translates hopefully to more money.
Yes.
But it's just this sense of being the master of your domain. Instead of things happening to you, you're really controlling the output, and you're really behind the driver's seat, so to speak. And so it just was a really beautiful feeling, and it just translated really well to the guests.
I love that.
Yes.
And how do you think having taken that leap and had this experience will support having an even bigger event next year?
I mean, it's like the ultimate proof of concept, because, and when we started our retreats way back in the day, I mean, I think our first one, there was 8 people or something like that, so it's very small, but at the end of it, we were like, oh no, there's something here, this is a good idea. And I feel like that has grown obviously to these 15 to 20 person deals, kind of depending on the venue. And this really felt the same way, where it was like, okay, no, this is worth doing. Because honestly, we weren't sure how it was going to translate to a larger group, and just the logistics of moving that many people around and doing, all the things we did was a bit of a gamble from the, how's this going to work perspective,
Yeah.
and it really worked very well. And I think that the kind of our ethos and the things that we're trying to bring to the world showed up. I think people really got it. And in some cases, I think even more so than they do in the smaller events.
Mm-hmm.
So for me anyway, it's just very clear that this is something that we need to continue to do. And it's a viable, piece of our business without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure. And we just had so many people that it was really interesting to hear the language that they associated with the experience. And one of the words that I kept hearing was, this is important. What you're doing is important. So it wasn't even necessarily like, this is so fun. And it was fun. It was all of those things. It was connective and nourishing and lovely and all those things. But the word important kept coming up time and time again from people. And I think both Adam and I could really feel that in this event, that there's just such an important thing that comes out of creating an event that is from a place of love and commitment to community. And it just was really heartfelt for us and for the guests. So it was just really, really special.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know. It's so exciting, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what it is, right? It's all about where it comes from. Right? This was never this is driven, like you said, by this commitment to community, and not necessarily it wasn't oh, we want to make $1 million off this event or whatever number you could pick. Right? It's this is what we're creating. Everything else will follow.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we both really felt that more than anything we've done before, is that this is special. This is something that people are longing for, and we have an opportunity to create that for them. And what a blessing. And, if wealth and good fortune come out of that, good for us. Those are the kind of things you want wealth and fortune to come from, is creating good vibes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's awesome. So Adam, since our last interview, you had your final day.
Mm-hmm.
It's your job. How has that been? What's the best part? Yeah.
So actually just 2 days ago now was marked the longest period of time that I'd been away from the firehouse, because I'd taken, while I was still working, I'd taken 3 shifts off before, which nets you 28 days.
Gotcha.
And so I've just now passed the threshold of the amount of time I've been away in the last 20 something years, so it's really interesting. The feeling is really interesting. I was talking, well, for one, my beard is pretty legit.
I was noticing that. I'm I like this new look.
Up until now, I wasn't sure I could grow a beard. But, I've talked to a couple friends who are still working for the department, and it's just interesting. hearing the stories and the stuff that's going on, and it's like all so familiar. I'm like, oh geez, that sucks. You know, you're dealing with this or that, or this is awesome, or that sounds fun, but I'm very separate from it. Like it's really, it's like I don't know how else to say it, but it just isn't part of my deal anymore.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of surprising. Like I thought that there would be a lot more, like, I don't know, like missing some piece of this, you know, and oh man, I wish I was doing that, or you know, and part of it is we've been just ridiculously busy, so
Right.
it's kind of been nonstop, but generally it's really good. I'm excited about the freedom, and we've got so much coming up that it's just, you know, it's just all about moving forward. You know, obviously the lack of a paycheck and, you know, some of these things, I'm like having to shop for insurance and stuff that I've just never had to worry about before. Right. Which is, I mean, there's some realities to the whole thing that are, I don't want to say daunting, but they're there. But as far as my feeling about it, it's good. Like I'm confident it was the right choice, and, you know, moving forward.
I love it. Vanessa, how is it? Because I know you were looking forward to this too a lot.
Yeah, it's, you know, I think for us, it's just honestly, it feels like there's nothing holding us back now. And, you know, obviously Adam's job was super beneficial and important for us in our early days because it gave us such a stabilizing force in our income, and, you know, did give him some flexibility with the schedule. So like, it was so great when it was in its infancy, but like now, you know, we came home from B-Fest and there's already, you know, 10 different things that need to just be addressed and sorted and dialed in. And I'm just noticing that, like, before it would have been like, okay, Adam has to go back to work, everything pauses, then we pick back up, and, you know, I kind of keep the balls in the air that I can by myself while he's gone, and then he comes when he can. And it's just like, there's this sense of like, let's do, like, we're on blast off mode. There's nothing holding us back now. There's no other focus than the task at hand, which is creating a successful company that, you know, inspires people to live a badass life. And and that's it. You know, there's no other gateway for us anymore. So it's really exciting. And I think that, you know, we came home and we are already starting plans for B-Fest next year. And it's like, okay, let's schedule our flight. We're looking at Montana as a possible location. We scheduled our flight. We got it dialed in. It's just like that. Before that process would have taken us like the better part of 2 months to get out there and sort it out with his schedule and see the places. And it's just like, now we can just go, we can just make it happen. So I'm really excited. And I think that, I honestly have to say though, coaching with you and the timing of doing the Manifest 10,000 could not have come at a better time, because we've had a couple freak out moments, right? As you can imagine.
Yeah, that's what happened. I get it. Like, that's what happened to me that's why Manifest 10K exists. Cause that's kind of what happened to me when I quit my job. Is like, it's okay, but
yeah. but like the calm and the clarity and the access to tools and the different way of being about it is so present for us. And like, in the moments where we could have easily a year ago or 2 years ago been like, what the hell are we doing? We're crazy. Like, you know, just had those freak out moments. Those freak out moments would have taken control and would have escalated us or thrown us down in a whole different route. And we've just been like, okay, let's use our tools. Let's get centered. Like, this is why we have enlisted your coaching, because we believe in getting coaching on the areas that we're not the strongest. And like, it's amazing. And I even have told Adam, like, I am so impressed with him, because especially as the provider, the one that bears the brunt of the, you know, of the responsibility, like his ability to like snap in and get locked in with our tools and really practice what you've been preaching has been incredible. So like, thank you.
You're welcome. I love hearing that. Yeah. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Adam?
I mean, that really is it. It's like, but the pattern that we would have, well, I don't know what's the right way to say this, our old pattern and what would have happened and has happened for years when we've come up against something like this is just, it's almost like a retreat. You know, you're like, whoa, all right, pump the brakes, back it up. We need to ratchet everything back. And that has, not having that as like the primary option, when things start to get a little bit sticky, and not having that as sort of the default it's incredible, and it's really freeing. And, and it's not just some magic thing that, whatever you were worried about doesn't exist anymore once you put on your playlist. Like, that's not the case, like, it's still there, but the energy and the attitude around it and all of this it really does. And I know this is sort of a cliche term, but it really just makes it feel like you're coming from a place of abundance, where it's like, this is the problem, but it's not a problem. It's not a problem in a negative sense. It's a problem that needs to be solved, like a puzzle. You scatter out. Like, some people do that for fun, right? They go pick a puzzle and they scatter stuff all over their table, and they're like, let's see how this goes together.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, we got to put all these stupid pieces together. So the mindset around it's huge. I mean, it's a critical piece.
I love that. And I love watching you guys do it together. I mean, you spoke a little bit to it, but like, just for people who are like listening or maybe part of a couple, like, what's the benefit to both having the same knowledge and being able to come at it like the same way?
It's priceless, honestly, because, if one partner is moving forward in the way that they think and the tools they have and the language they're speaking and the thoughts they're thinking, and the partner is left in the old paradigm essentially and is not updating their settings, so to speak, there just becomes a greater divide. And honestly, not to like over dramatize it, but this is why relationships a lot of times don't work out, right? Is that people are unwilling to move and grow together. Yeah. And so if your partner is developing a new skill set in any way, for you to stay seated in your archaic, sort of auto drive is going to create that distance. And so it's imperative. If I was the one growing, or Adam was the one growing in this story and using these new tools and new ways about being ways about things. I don't know how to say that. You know what I'm trying to say? But we would have just had that disconnect, and then there would have been more struggle. There would have been more, like, he would probably have dug his heels in even deeper, saying, why the hell are you not freaking out? Why are you over there and it's going to be fine, abundant land, when like this bill is due? You know what I mean? So it's like, I just think that it would create a larger gap. And so we said that, like, there's no way that we could have done this together without being on the same page about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, being in business together is tough enough when you're also, married, but and when you have a business relationship and a personal relationship, it's tricky. And yeah, there really would be no way to do this. And I mean, and this is something that we kind of had to have experience with other things in our lives. It's like, when you're going to do something that has the potential to sort of level you up from a thinking and communicating perspective, you better do it together. Because it's like, you just don't want to wind up you speaking different languages. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going to end up with all sorts of friction and resistance that, is already there regardless, even when you do speak the same language. And it's just exacerbated by that difference.
I love that. Yeah, it's so true. And I love, because you both are so coachable. Like, it's so fun.
Just tell us what to do.
Right? Okay, yeah, do it. Even when I'm like, let's like way back up. Do this, like, let's do this again. You're like, okay, got it. Yep, I totally get it. Like, and so that's so much fun too from a coaching perspective. And I think is like important, for listeners to hear too, is like, coaches are coachable, like, because we know the value. And so, and that makes the process go faster. Mm-hmm. Actually, yeah. Will you talk a little bit about just coachability in general, both like as a client and as a coach, and like what difference that makes?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, take it.
So, I think what it comes down to is that there's, and I can kind of equate this back to sort of the strength and conditioning world, because it's a pretty easy thing that I think people could relate to a little. Mm-hmm. And it is that there's a tendency to follow, if you're interested in coaches, right? So if you're a potential client or an enthusiast of some kind, you want to follow these incredible athletes, because you're like, oh wow, that person knows what they're doing, and then sometimes you look at a coach who's like a world-class coach and you're like, that guy doesn't look like much of an athlete. And there's a reason for that generally, and that is that the athletes, the people who this stuff comes to naturally and have the genetic potential to just sort of crush regardless of the coaching that comes in, they never actually have to work through the same amount of problems that a person who doesn't have the genetic aptitude or just the background in it does. So what you tend to find is that the best coaches are people who had to work for every single thing that they got in whatever that realm is, and through that process, you learn very quickly what works and what doesn't work, what worked for me, how, and when you're working with a good coach, you can see how it is that they communicate with you and fundamentally how they communicate with somebody else, which is probably completely different to achieve the same goal. And I think that once you can appreciate that, once you've been an athlete who has had to be coached, you really, it just sinks in that there's a difference there, and that what really counts is your ability to listen and communicate with the person who's trying to, articulate what's going on. And then just to reverse that, once you become the coach, you still have all of that memory, of how this works, and all of those little cues and all of those different things that have been lodged in your subconscious somewhere that says, there's nothing wrong with this person. I'm just not communicating with them in the way that they need to be able to be communicated with. And so it's just a muscle, once you get that figured out and kind of dial in how you communicate, there's a sense that it makes it easier to feel like you're not going to give up on someone, right? You're like, oh no, we just haven't figured this out yet. Right. This is going to work. You can be very reassuring and confident in your reassurance as a coach, because you've seen it, 100 different times, and you know what it was like to be on the other end, waiting to hear that one cue that made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Totally.
And I always love the coach athlete. Yeah. They totally get it.
Yeah. I think, I actually have always been an athlete, and we share this, Cassie. When you come from an athletic mindset, I think that you learn to be coached at a very young age, and you actually enjoy the process of it. So where some people are resistant to coaching, they get this like, don't tell me what to do thing. I should already know this, which I don't know why people think that they should already know half the things that they like. I don't know why that exists, but people think they should be endowed with the gift of knowledge in all subjects. But I think for athletes, you grow up getting a lot of positive reinforcement for responding well to cues, to coaching cues. And so, I was a gymnast at a very young age. If I'd run a pass and I would nail it, I would get, all of this applause and kudos and all of the stuff that just burned the neural pathways in my head that said, when you perform well for your coaches, you get happy chemicals in your brain. And so it stayed with me my whole life. So I'm like, tell me what to do and I'll do a good job. Like, please like me. Please, I want to make you happy.
Right.
But it works for me because at the end of the day, it benefits me and it benefits my goals. But I think that I just have that sense of wanting to do good at something and be, learn, be better, improve on myself. And it just comes from probably those neural pathways just being burned really young.
I totally get that. And I love it. You're right. Because that's like, we're like, okay, tell me how to do it better. Like, tell me you look forward to that because you also learn that like you can execute that.
Yes.
Right? Like you learn like, okay, if it wasn't that I wasn't, planted, my feet weren't planted right. Like I can fix that. I can do it better next time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think you learn to enjoy the challenge. Like there's something that flips on in your brain that, when there's a challenge, instead of running from it, you want to run to it. Like you want to figure out, well, what is that thing and why is it that like it's challenging, and what are the tools or the expansiveness that I can bring into my life to navigate this? And I think that just makes life more interesting.
Yeah.
It's just more enjoyable to like look at a complex equation and be like, can I solve this?
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. Yeah, I love it. It's so true. Yeah. So what are you guys looking forward to most in maybe like the next 90 days as you continue to grow your mindset, your business together?
Yeah. Well, it's pretty interesting because I believe it or not, we are almost sold out of everything that we're offering in 2019.
Yay!
with the
It's
exception of
amazing.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So BFest 2019, we'll be launching that pretty soon, and we're fairly confident that that's going to go pretty quickly. I mean,
Yeah.
we more or less have like 75% of that accounted for already, and so I'm actually looking at launching a new mastermind coaching class that's going to start in January, a year-long program for people who really just want to dial in the kind of three main areas of their life, their physicalness, their nutrition, and then what they want to do with that.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that. That's something that is very interesting to me, and I'm stoked to be bringing that about, and kind of hanging my actual shingle, so to speak, with
Yes.
the things I'm most interested in doing. So that's awesome. And what else?
I think it's the same. We're actually we are almost sold out for 2019, but we still have a couple of events coming up for the end of 2018. It looks like we're going to be adding another retreat, another Costa Rica retreat in November of 2018, and we also have an African safari that we're taking a group on, which is for me is like it's a lifetime bucket list thing. I've been dreaming about Africa since I was a little girl, and this is like one of the most exciting retreats that we have ever done for me personally. So I'm really excited about that. I just think that I'm really excited to be, like I was talking about earlier, be present in the experience. And I'm just feeling that more and more all the time. It's just like, it's less of a reactive situation. It's less of a scramble and a stress. And I just honestly feel like I have this sense of like, I know exactly what to do. Like I have all the tools, and I'm going to keep perfecting them, and I'm going to keep asking you all kinds of questions to get better and better. But I'm like, I'm here. I'm arrived. I'm like, I can do this. And I really just believe in what we're doing. And if there was anything that came out of B-Fest and the timing of it with Adam leaving his job, it was like the universe just opened up and said like, yes, do this. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, I'm here. I support you. I love you. Keep going. And so I just feel so excited about everything.
Yay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. Well, tell everybody how they can connect with you guys.
Be the Wellness is our website, and you mentioned earlier it's BEETHEWELLNESS, BeTheWellness.com. We also have our own podcast, which you've been on a couple of times, Cassie, and it's Be the Wellness Podcast. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all under Be the Wellness. And if someone has questions or wants to reach out to us personally, they can always hit us up at info@BeTheWellness.com.
Awesome. And what's a person who says like, what are they thinking if they like need to reach out to Adam and Vanessa, Be the Wellness? Like, are they wanting, like, obviously if they were drawn to Adam's mentorship, but what else? Like, how does somebody know like they're part of the tribe? Yeah.
Well, so one of the things that we that's pretty cornerstone in our community is we do preach sort of a paleo whole foods diet. Awesome. And so if people are interested in that way of life, have dabbled in it, or have tried it but have also decided that they've kept parts of it but kind of do their own version, we really welcome people who are kind of in this place where they either really want to dial in their health and well-being, and that's sort of where Adam can meet you. He can really get you dialed on you first. And then if there's people out there sort of on the flip side that are like, I feel pretty good about myself, but like, now what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with all my like well-beingness? That's where we meet you and say, we have these amazing opportunities to go celebrate your well-beingness with other people doing the same, and, you know, really just enjoy your life and celebrate and travel and laugh and eat good food and climb cool mountains and raft cool rivers and, you know, just do interesting things together.
I love it.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. I'm so looking forward to seeing what happens over I mean, the rest of the year, but
Yeah.
always. It's just so
Yes.
much fun to have you guys. Make sure you check out Adam and Vanessa at Be The Wellness, BEEthewellness.com. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you next week. Everybody listening, make sure to check out Adam and Vanessa's next interview.
Thank you for joining us on The More Money Show. To learn how to attract more money into your life, go to your favorite book retailer and order Cassie's book, Manifest $10,000.